The soldier stepped off the transport pod, boots clanking against the metallic floor with a hollow echo that reminded him of every cliché warning about entering alien territory. He squinted at the bright lights of the station, a sprawling maze of steel catwalks and pulsating neon panels. His orders had been simple, almost laughably so. Pick up a companion, something small, manageable, cute even. They had promised him a pet. In his mind, he pictured a tiny, fluffy creature, maybe one with 4 legs and an affinity for sitting on his shoulder while he played holochess. Instead, the air shimmered around something far less conventional. "You're kidding me," he muttered, rubbing the back of his neck. A figure emerged from the soft glow of the docking bay. She was tall, taller than most humans, with a gait that seemed effortless and smooth, like she was gliding rather than walking. Her skin had the faintest shimmer, pale but not unnatural, and her ears, long, elegant, tapering to sharp points, twitched slightly as though testing the soundscape of the station. She looked him over with a faint smirk, as if reading the thoughts scrambling behind his visor. "I'm not a pet," she said, her voice calm but melodic, carrying a subtle echo as if it resonated just slightly beyond normal human hearing. "I heard you were expecting something small, cuddly, and incapable of sarcasm." He blinked. "Small, cuddly, incapable of sarcasm? Yeah, that's exactly what I wanted. Why didn't anyone mention the vampire part?" He gestured vaguely at her fangs, just visible when she smiled. She tilted her head, ears flicking, clearly amused by his attempt at humor. "I don't bite, at least not on the first meeting," she said, stepping closer. "Mostly because I enjoy theatrics. You should see your face, it's almost as entertaining as my last Target S before I drain their credit chips." He forced a laugh, trying not to stare too obviously. "Credit chips, seriously. I thought we were talking about a companion, not a high-stakes heist partner." Her eyes glowed faintly as she smiled wider. "I can be both. You humans really underestimate us, don't you?" He shrugged, adjusting his gear. "Guess I'll find out. Just so we're clear, my skill set is military strategy, survival under fire, and sarcasm. Feeding, grooming, or entertaining mysterious alien women, not so much." "You'll adapt," she said lightly, twirling a strand of hair that seemed to shimmer like spun silver. "Or you'll die trying. Either outcome is educational." The humor in her words made him relax slightly, though he kept his hand near his sidearm. The station's AI announced docking schedules in a sing-song voice that was both cheerful and unnervingly precise. Somewhere in the background, a maintenance droid zipped past carrying a load of metallic tubing, narrowly missing a cargo crate. The soldier followed her movements as if they were a dance, noting how easily she balanced on a catwalk that would have made him clutch the railing in terror. "So, pet name?" he asked, trying to insert some levity. "Call me what you like," she said, tilting her head again. "But I warn you, calling me Fluffy might result in severe inconvenience." He snorted. "Yeah, Fluffy seems wrong. I mean, you're more like lethal elegance with a side of sass." Her laughter was soft, melodic, but carried a bite of mock offense. "Lethal elegance? You humans really know how to flatter a woman or insult her. I'm not sure which, but I like it." The station's corridors twisted around them like a living circuit board, glowing panels flashing information at angles that made his head spin. Hollow screens flickered, showing star charts, inventory logs, and occasional lost item alerts. She navigated it all like a shadow, her ears occasionally twitching at some sound he couldn't detect. A stray maintenance bot collided with a crate, causing a clatter that made him jump, and she leaned against the railing, smirking at his reaction. "Jump much?" she teased. "Shut up," he muttered, feeling his ears warm under her gaze. "This place is a death trap if you're not careful." "And yet," she said, stepping closer so their shadows intertwined with the flickering lights, "you've survived long enough to complain about it. That counts for something. You might even be entertaining." He coughed, trying to hide a grin. "Entertaining? I'm a soldier, not a court jester." Details. Entertaining is subjective." She led him through a wide, circular chamber, the ceiling disappearing into darkness while beams of light tracked across the floor, illuminating floating crates, suspended catwalks, and the occasional maintenance drone zipping past. In the middle of the room, a small, holographic display hovered, showing a creature that could have passed for a traditional pet. It blinked, waved a tentacle, and beeped innocently. The soldier's eyes narrowed. "And this is the part you promised me." he asked, glancing from the hollow creature to her, eyebrows raised. She smirked. I promised you a pet. Technically, I didn't specify form. Besides, I hear holographic companions aren't much fun in bed. He groaned audibly. Right, because your form is exactly what I signed up for. Great. First day, and I'm already negotiating existential contracts with an alien vampire woman. She chuckled, the sound low and teasing. I like you already. You're amusingly predictable in your human panic. He adjusted his helmet, muttering, if I survive today, I'm requesting hazard pay, therapy sessions, and maybe a nice dog at home just to recover. She glanced at him, ears flicking. Dogs are overrated, cats, however, or perhaps a tiny, sarcastic dragon. I can arrange that if you prove useful. His laugh was genuine this time. I can barely handle paperwork, let alone dragon wrangling. And yet here you are, stumbling into the unknown, she said, voice softening just enough to make him pause. Perhaps that's why I'm here too. Life gets dull when there's nothing unexpected. For a moment they walked in silence, the hum of the station wrapping around them like a living organism. She leaned slightly closer, and he noticed the faint, metallic scent of her presence, like ozone after a storm. He tried not to think about how disarming it was, reminding himself that she was, technically, dangerous. Tell me, she said casually, do all humans complain this much when faced with uncertainty, or am I lucky? Lucky, he asked, a hint of a smile tugging at his lips. I'd say unlucky if you consider my heart rate. Good, she said, her smile curling into something mischievous. I prefer a little chaos, makes life interesting. The soldier rubbed his temple, already imagining the hours of training, negotiation, and bizarre tasks that lay ahead. Somewhere in the distance, a cargo pod clanged as it landed, sounding like the universe itself had dropped a symbol. He glanced at her. Well, he said, taking a deep breath, if I survive the paperwork and your sharp fangs, maybe I'll even enjoy this. Her eyes glimmered, ears twitching with amusement. We'll see, soldier, we'll see. And with that, the unlikely pair moved deeper into the station, the first chapter of their chaotic partnership quietly humming to life in the corridors of lights, metal, and shadow, where the promise of adventure, mixed with danger, humor, and the strange thrill of the unknown, waited just around the next corner. The soldier had barely managed to catch his breath from the first encounter when the alien woman decided it was time to introduce him to life aboard the station in earnest. You'll need to learn the rules, she said, moving ahead with a grace that made his boots sound clumsy in comparison. Not that humans ever follow them anyway. He followed, muttering under his breath about how rules and humans were rarely compatible. The corridors twisted and branched in ways that made his sense of direction obsolete, and he kept bumping into panels, doors, and the occasional floating droid. She observed him with a faint smirk, ears twitching in the same rhythm as the station's hum. Step lightly, soldier, you're going to break something or worse, your pride. He shot her a look that was half frustration, half incredulity. You do realize I'm a trained professional, right? I've survived ambushes, meteor storms, and let's not even mention the time I got stuck in zero gravity with 3 malfunctioning bots. But apparently walking straight down a corridor is too much to ask. She chuckled, the sound like soft static dancing through the air. Ah yes, surviving galactic catastrophes is impressive, but do you survive embarrassment as well? Barely, he admitted. Especially when I'm being lectured by someone who looks like she could snap my arm in two with a flick of her finger. Her smile widened. Snap, maybe, but I'd rather see you survive this station intact, preferably without tripping over anything more dangerous than your own ego. The first test came almost immediately. A maintenance drone went rogue, swinging a welding arm like a drunk giant, sparks flying dangerously close to the floor panels. The soldier dove to the side instinctively, landing in a heap, while she stepped forward effortlessly, raising a hand. The arm froze mid-swing, then slowly lowered as if acknowledging her presence. Impressive, he muttered, still sprawled. Not me, she said, tilting her head. The station obeys me usually. He groaned. Right, because nothing says normal pet duties like commanding infrastructure with a flick of your wrist. You adapt or you perish, she replied casually, glancing at him. Humans are notoriously slow learners. That might be amusing to watch. He got to his feet, brushing himself off. I'll have you know I adapt just fine, thank you. Now, where's the part where I get a cute little companion I can feed? She laughed, a melodic sound that echoed oddly in the corridor. Feeding? Ah, yes, I'm told humans have very specific definitions of care. You feed me in the traditional sense, I feed on intrigue, danger, and occasionally sarcasm. Do not try to substitute kibble. He stopped and stared. Wait, sarcasm, you what? That's a dietary requirement. Of course, she said with a wink. And I'm starting to run low. You're dangerously sarcastic today, by the way. Keep it up and I might, well, you'll see. He groaned, just great. I didn't sign up to be a joke delivery system for alien blood rituals. She glanced around as if to ensure no one else heard him. Don't worry, this station has very selective auditory sensors. I doubt anyone else cares. Or understands, you humans are so complicated. They rounded a corner, and suddenly the corridor expanded into a circular chamber filled with floating platforms, each hovering a few meters above the ground. Hollow panels flickered above them, showing schematics of the station and rotating star systems beyond. A cargo shuttle hung suspended, tethered by magnetic clamps that hummed faintly. Your first test, she said, pointing to a platform that floated slightly higher than the others. Retrieve the maintenance kit without activating the laser grid. He raised an eyebrow. Test, I thought we were just getting acquainted. Acquainted requires trust, she said, stepping onto the nearest platform with perfect balance. Trust requires competence. Competence requires action. Try not to embarrass yourself. He sighed, muttering curses under his breath, and stepped onto the platform. It shuddered slightly under his weight. A laser beam traced the perimeter of the next platform, moving in a slow, deliberate pattern. He froze, imagining all the ways he could set off an alarm, or worse, trip some failsafe that would send him plummeting into the floor. Relax, she called, floating effortlessly beside him. Laser grids are just suggestions, mostly. Mostly, he asked, voice tight. Mostly, that's comforting. You'll thank me later, she said, smirking. Now step carefully, soldier, pretend you're dancing or on a first date. Both require finesse. He swallowed, placing one foot cautiously onto the next platform. It hovered slightly under his weight and the laser beam slid past harmlessly. He exhaled, slowly gaining confidence. She hovered nearby, silently judging his form, ears twitching like radar dishes picking up every minor misstep. By the time he reached the maintenance kit, dripping sweat and muttering about zero-gravity dance classes, she clapped lightly. Impressive, she said. Not for the grace, of course, that's barely there, but for surviving without a catastrophic event. Points for effort. Thanks, he said, trying to catch his breath. Next time, can the point system include a medal? Or at least a cookie? Cookies are too pedestrian, she said, twirling the kit with a flick of her wrist. Perhaps a small victory and a lecture on humility, that's more nourishing. He groaned. I'm going to need a lot of nourishing then. They moved on, passing through corridors filled with glowing pipes, magnetic elevators, and occasional holographic alerts warning of maintenance schedules or alien quarantine zones. She pointed out hazards casually, teasing him about human reflexes, while he grumbled and tried to remember which hand went where. At one point, a low hum resonated through the floor. He looked down, startled, as a tiny robot, no larger than a loaf of bread, zipped past, towing a container of liquid neon. What now? He asked. That, she said, ears twitching with amusement, is a liquid neon delivery. Highly unstable, and you'll be responsible if it spills. Try not to panic. He blinked, responsible for glowing alien chemicals, seriously. Trust me, she said, floating above him, it's part of the charm. You humans love responsibility until it's inconvenient, then it's amusing. He sighed, following the tiny robot and keeping one eye on the lasers bouncing off the walls. Somewhere in the distance, alarms chimed briefly, then stopped. She glanced at him. See, mild chaos keeps life interesting. He rubbed his face. Interesting is one word for it, terrifying is another, slightly suicidal is third, pick your own definition. And you, she said, hovering closer, are adapting. Slowly, but yes. I can almost tolerate your presence now without constant amusement at your failures. He shot her a look. Almost tolerate, that's encouraging. Encouraging in the human sense, she replied. In mine, it's slightly amusing. You should consider it a compliment. By the time they finished navigating the maintenance course, the soldier was exhausted, adrenaline still buzzing faintly. He had survived lasers, floating platforms, and an alien woman who apparently considered sarcasm a meal. Yet despite it all, he couldn't help but grin. Not bad for day one, he muttered. Day one? She asked, eyes glinting. Oh, soldier, we've only just begun. Tomorrow I may require you to fetch moon dust from the station's outer hull, and believe me, that's even more entertaining. He groaned audibly. Great. Just what I needed, space dust and potential death. I feel so alive. She laughed, the sound echoing faintly through the corridors. Alive and terrified, that's exactly how I like my human companions. Now let's find a place to rest. You'll need it, and I'll need amusement. He followed, shoulders slumping with exhaustion but a strange, reluctant sense of anticipation. Somehow, surviving day one felt like an achievement, even if the universe had just signed him up for a week-long comedy of errors, chaos, and uncomfortably alluring danger. By the time they reached the quarters, the soldier realized one thing: he hadn't gotten a pet. But he had gotten something far more complicated, unpredictable, and thoroughly entertaining. And somehow that felt almost better. The alarms had been going for what felt like hours, though in reality it was barely 20 minutes. The human soldier's boots echoed against the metallic floors of the space station as he sprinted down a corridor, the alien vampire woman gliding effortlessly beside him, her long ears twitching in perfect rhythm with the low hum of the station's emergency systems. Red lights flickered, casting jagged shadows over their path, and he muttered curses about alien security protocols, rogue infiltrators, and questionable life choices. Seriously, do you ever relax? He shouted over the siren, dodging a floating crate that had come loose from its magnetic tether. She tilted her head, smiling faintly, ears flicking back as if to say, relax. In this environment, relaxation is a human indulgence. We aliens prefer controlled chaos, it's more stimulating. He groaned, controlled chaos, that's exactly what got us here. She laughed, a sharp musical sound that grated slightly on his frayed nerves, but somehow kept him moving forward. True, but you're adapting. You've learned to think fast, move faster, and most importantly, argue with me while surviving. He shot her a look, arguing. I thought I was supposed to survive first and argue later. Details, she said, spinning gracefully to grab a loose cable before it sparked dangerously across the hallway. Survival without commentary is boring. The real threat was revealed as they entered the main cargo bay. A rogue gang of alien smugglers had infiltrated the station, armed with plasma disruptors and zero-gravity traps. One of the leaders, a hulking creature with metallic skin and 3 eyes that rotated independently, pointed at them and bellowed in a language the soldier didn't recognize. The station's AI issued warnings in a calm, sing-song voice: hostile entities detected, engagement advised. The soldier crouched, weapons drawn, glancing at his companion. I was promised a pet, not a war. Pets are overrated, she said, twirling a finger in the air, generating a faint holographic shield that rippled like liquid glass around them. Besides, you're learning to improvise. Trust me, you'll thank me when it's over. A plasma blast seared past, missing by inches, and he jumped back, muttering under his breath. She floated forward, eyes glowing faintly as she extended a hand. The energy bolt froze midair, fizzled, then collapsed harmlessly to the floor. He blinked. Do you do that often? Only when necessary, she said, stepping over the disabled weapon with elegant grace. Mostly I like watching your panicked expressions. He scowled. Delightful, truly delightful. Their advance was a mixture of strategy and chaos. He covered angles, using his training to anticipate attacks, while she used abilities he still didn't fully understand. Manipulating objects telekinetically, vanishing briefly into shadows, and moving with speed that made him dizzy just watching. Occasionally, she would quip about his stance or the predictable human hesitation, which only served to lighten the tension enough for him to breathe. At one point, a plasma trap detonated beneath them, sending them both tumbling in zero gravity. He grabbed a floating crate instinctively, which barely slowed their momentum, while she laughed, flipping effortlessly to land feet first on a catwalk above. Well done, soldier, at least you're creative under pressure. Creative? I almost cracked my skull on a crate, he shouted, pushing off the wall to join her. Details, she said again, eyes glinting. Creativity includes survival. Also, the panic shouts are entertaining. They fought their way through the cargo bay, a combination of human reflexes and alien precision that slowly turned the tide against the smugglers. The hulking 3-eyed leader attempted to ambush the soldier, but she appeared behind him in a blink, her elongated ears flicking as she whispered something that made his target stumble, allowing the soldier to disable him with a quick shot. "See," she said afterward, brushing a streak of displaced energy from her arm. "Teamwork, surprisingly effective." He panted, leaning against a railing for support. "Teamwork, huh? I'll have to get used to that. Especially with someone who has better reflexes than my entire platoon combined." She tilted her head, amused. "Don't sell yourself short. You're learning to anticipate what I do. That's growth." He tried to hide a grin. "Growth? You mean like surviving with a sarcastic, potentially fanged alien on my back?" "Exactly," she said, smirking. "I admire your progress." With the last of the smugglers neutralized, the station's AI announced all clear. The soldier slumped against a bulkhead, exhausted but alive, while she floated beside him, observing the aftermath with calm amusement. "Well," she said, stretching languidly, "that was exhilarating. Humans tend to overestimate